Well, hey everybody, so today we are going to make another composite, but instead of, say, starting with a really sort of solid background, we're going to take several pictures and sort of create our own kind of, once again, where we're using different pictures, but we're basically going to create a background and we're going to add sort of layers to it. So instead of having a whole like depth to it, we're going to kind of mold this together by using different elements. So you should have already downloaded this folder here, and you've got a brick wall, you've got a girl reading, you got some mist, you got a sunset, you got a waterfall, you got a zipper. If you're not really sure what we're about to make, then I get me and yours right here. So let's go ahead and start off by putting the brick wall in. So go ahead and open up Photoshop. Don't have anything open. Just open up the brick wall as its own document here because it's the biggest picture we have. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all of this this little like kind of post here, this little electrical box, and we're going to use our clone stamp for that. So go ahead and right click on it and say Layer from Background. And what we'll do is we'll select our clone stamp tool. If you don't recall that, it's over here. You press S on the keyboard. And what we'll do is we'll just click on this, press Alt to get a little reference point here. We'll just kind of line this up. You want to zoom in a little bit just to make sure you're lining up the lines to the bricks. That's important, so you don't really break anything here. Once you press S, and we'll just sort of like hover these bricks over this over here, just kind of one by one, sort of spot clean this out. We can even spot clean the shadow out as well, and there's a bit of a blur there with the lines, but it's okay. But we'll obscure that later. We'll hit our Alt again just to kind of get another little reference point here and sort of pull this through. Let's scroll up here, hit Alt again, get another reference point, and just sort of once again, bit by bit, just take away that little post and electrical box, this little cable back here. Oh, let's get rid of this. Hit another reference point. And just use the clone stamp tool to get through this little kind of area here. Maybe post again. See if we can't get something up here that we can do more to. Here we go. That's good. And again, a soft brush with the clone stamp helps everything blend through a little bit more. So I back up this up. Yeah, it looks about right. That's good. All right, cool. So go ahead and get the. One second here. We got going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our file again. Let's get the girl reading in there, and just we're going to cut out the girl reading. We're going to leave in some of the grass as well. So let's go ahead and expand that out. And when we expand it out, just make sure you're holding on the Shift key to make sure you're keeping the aspect ratio right. We don't want to stretch this or warp this or anything like that. So let's see here. What we'll do is we'll just press Enter, and this is going to be a smart object. Smart objects are not necessarily vectors, but what they are is they have a certain resolution that you can't, you won't be able to affect until you actually turn them into a set of pixels that's translated to the image itself. So let's go ahead and hit the E button, the eraser tool. Just click anywhere, and then let's cut this girl. We're going to want to keep some of the grass here. So everything that's in shadow we'll keep. So I'm going to go ahead and get my magnetic lasso tool out, and I'm just going to draw along the shadow of the grass. And I'll zoom. Oh, I can't really zoom in right now, but let's just escape here. Let me zoom in some so I can see her mostly. All right, what we'll do is we'll just click here. We'll just hit our lasso tool, and we'll just go across like so along the shadow, and then we'll just put up like this, around the horn, up the hair, over the back here. Again, we're trying to make something a little bit surreal here. So we're putting this girl in front of this brick wall, and the idea is like the pictures don't necessarily match perfectly here. And we'll just go around the bend here, and we'll clean all this up. We'll make sure we get everything. We're using the quick mask tool here, so we'll just come around the horn and just click there, and we'll have our selection. So if I zoom out a little bit, we can see that we've got this little area here selected. I'll just press Q on the keyboard and make sure I have my brush tool selected. Once again, black will allow you to make things a part of your selection, or take things away from your selection. White will make things a part of your selection. So in this case, we want to make sure that everything part of the grass is part of the selection here. So all the way to the edge here. And if we want to sort of even things out, we can just take our brush tool and just sort of like hit the Shift key and sort of click here and just hold on the Shift key and just have it go across in a real even pattern here, just to kind of line things up, make a real solid horizon. And then we'll just go through and just on the other side here, just to kind of show that we've got sort of a shadowy area. And then let's go ahead and clean up the edges here. So I'll shrink my brush down a little bit. Once again, I have the brush tool selected. Here. No, I don't want that. I'm going to switch it over to black. Shrink down a little bit here. Make sure the whole book is selected, which she's reading here. So the idea is that we're sort of seeing into her mind. We're seeing into her mind as she's reading. She's being transported to the different worlds. And so we're going to add a little sunset and a little wall behind her. And the zipper will come into play a little later here. So let's kind of go through here. Shrink the brush down. Make sure this little area by her hand is all... So, that's what we're doing here. Make sure all that's selected as well. Make sure this area is here selected as well. Zoom out slightly. Make sure this area by our hair. Just clean everything up. Make sure that you've got a good selection here. This is a big part and parcel of everything when it comes to compositing, is knowing how to cut things out precisely and without a lot of noise around it. So even if you don't get every strand of hair, that's okay. So long as you don't have any real obvious sort of jagged areas of the background information from her original picture kind of involved. If you want to smooth out her hair, smooth out like the parts, the folds of her clothes. In this case, let's go ahead and keep. We can either let this sort of fold lie, or we can include it. I'll just let it lie for now. If you want to include it, just color it with white, or however you made your selection here. We'll just make sure all this is covered as well. Let's get bigger here. I'll just go across over her head. Alright, cool. And so we'll just back it up. We'll just press Q again. We have this thing. Now what we have right now is the girl selected. We want to get rid of everything else behind her. So we'll go over to select and we'll press inverse and we'll just press delete. And so that gives everything behind there. And so we want to make this little area kind of even with the side. We want to make this front area even with the side. So we'll kind of like make everything a bit taller, and we'll also expand it out a little bit here. So let's go ahead and get our clone stamp up. And again, our clone stamp is going to be kind of a soft brush. So I'm going to hit my clone stamp here on the grass, right about here, and I'll just sort of hit my shift key, and I'm just going to go across here. And so I know I'm getting a good solid line. So once again, I'll start on the bottom, I'll just go across. Let's hit Alt. I'll just go across and see if I can just sort of keep translating this piece here. Maybe start over here and just go across like this. And even though the shadow's a little bit different, it's okay. We'll clean it all up later. Across here, get everything all the way to the edge. Right here. I'm trying to keep it, say, a little bit, so make a little bit more sense here, because what we've got is a bunch of sort of like splotchy shadows here. So let's see if I can't kind of clean this up a little bit. I'll just take this and I'll just kind of put it next to it here. Like this, make sure this little harsh shadow is not quite so harsh. And just, you know, again, this is a kind of a craft that you sort of like work with here. So you just experiment with the clone stamp tool and just kind of ease along here just to make sure this is all even here. Okay, that's good. And I'll just finish it up. Once again. That's good. All right, great. Okay, cool. So that looks good. All right, so I'll just leave that there. If you want to use the dodge or burn tool to kind of like lighten up some of these areas, you can just click over here the dodge or burn tool. Let me see if I can find that. Here's the dodge tool. I could just brighten this up just slightly, and the burn tool I could just darken some of the other stuff just slightly as well. Just darken this up a little bit just to make it blend in. I'll just kind of move on from here. So we've got this girl. Now it looks kind of like she's sitting in front of this brick wall, or there's sort of a grassy area in front of it. Now it still looks a little bit, let's say, doesn't look like it quite matches, but that's okay because it kind of like sort of feeds into the whole surreal nature, the whole dreamlike area of it. Let's go ahead and get the so we get the zipper in there. We'll put the zipper just sort of like right here in the middle of the wall, and let's bring it up to the top. Oops. Let's bring it up to the top here. Oops, go to the anchor point here, and let's expand it out to where it takes up it goes up about halfway down the length of the wall. So hold down Shift once again just to make sure that we get everything. So like the zipper head is about halfway down the length of the wall. That's about right. And you can put it anywhere you want. You can put it up here. You can put it towards the edge. That's fine too. I'm gonna put it right in the center of the picture, just to kind of like have a bit of a little bit of balance here, sort of a little, like putting everything towards one side, and I'll just press enter. This is what you call asymmetrical balance. Now with this right here, with the edges of the zipper extending past the edges of the canvas itself, if I take my magic wand tool, so remember my magic wand over here, press W on the keyboard, if I click inside of it, it just selects inside that little area right there, inside that little area of the zipper. So if I hold down the right click on it and I select inverse, I've got everything outside that. If I go over to my layer menu, I can either do one of two things. I can click on my layer 0 and I can just press delete. Oops, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to make a little layer mask. And the layer mask basically just obscures everything that I haven't selected here. And so this is the layer mask, this little button right here that has like a rectangle with a circle inside of it. That's the layer mask. So let's go ahead and grab the sunset. We'll bring the sunset in here. Oops. The sunset. And we'll sort of position that to where the sun is kind of in the middle of the zipper here. And press enter, and we'll just drag that down below the brick wall. So now we're kind of seeing into this. We can do a couple of things with this. We could kind of expand this a little bit to make a little bit more of to make the sun a bit bigger. That might work, but we don't want to have the sun out of the picture. So let's just have the sun centered over the zipper head, and with that done, we can take our waterfall PNG. This is already a PNG. It's important that we have some good PNGs because sometimes it's hard to get like the alpha channel kind of involved here. And we'll bring that up above the zipper. So let me go with the zipper here, and we'll have our little waterfall. So now we have like this sort of ocean sort of spilling out onto into the girl's world here as she's reading. And we can actually duplicate this a couple times. We'll just right click on this. We'll just duplicate this once. And we'll let's go to free transform, get your marquee tool, free transform, and we'll just flip it horizontally, and we'll just put it next to it right here, so it's kind of going on both sides. And let's see if we can sort of erase up here to kind of give it a little bit more, see, blend it in a little bit over here. That's really good, just towards the top. 250 might be a bit too big. Let's shrink that down a little bit. We can press the square brackets to shrink down. That's good. That kind of blends it in a little bit here. We can even take the clone stamp tool and sort of get some of that footage there, get some of that information to kind of like make it more symmetrical here. So let me just go over here to my clone stamp. I'll just press Alt, and I'll just sort of paint a little bit more of that kind of white frothy area on the top of it there. Okay, so with that done, let's last little touch. We'll take our mist. We'll bring our mist down, and we'll expand our mist up a good deal. And we'll just bring that down here, and we'll just kind of cover this little area in front of the girl. In fact, we'll put it, it's in front of everything. We'll just cover the whole area with this sort of mist color here. So what we can do is we can just, once again, hit the clone stamp tool, make sure we rasterize it, Alt, reference, and we'll just sort of, maybe make it a bit bigger here. We'll just kind of click around, and we'll just Alt inside there. Just make sure it kind of goes across onto the bottom of the canvas. Make sure it doesn't get cut off here. And we can put it over here. And we can actually reduce the opacity slightly so we can see the girl behind him. So fill opacity. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. We'll sort of have this little fill going across. Once again, click here, and we'll just this side. All right, and so there you go. So now we have this little picture here that we've created, wherein we have a girl reading, and then suddenly we have this sort of like image kind of coming up behind her. Now, one thing I don't like about this is that the fact that the waterfall is expanding past the opening of the zipper. So let's go ahead and find that waterfall copy. Let's sort of erase that, kind of pull back a little bit here, so it looks like it's kind of coming out of the waterfall a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing to the other side here. Click here. We'll just sort of like, okay, we'll put that right there. A little bit. That looks a bit better. We can even make it a little less symmetrical, just so it looks like a little bit more of a natural thing. That's right here. That's good. Okay, cool. So it looks like it's sort of spilling out in one direction. All right, that's we'll call that done. Let's go ahead and put our watermark on there, and make sure you kind of reduce the opacity slightly, just to make sure it doesn't stick out too terribly bad. Although make sure it's visible. And we'll say this is a JPEG, and we'll turn this into D2L. All right, we cannot wait to see what you guys produce.